Hello and welcome to Preppy, where we revolutionize how you prepare for IELTS. We have understood task achievement through semi-formal letter and informal letter, and today we will be understanding task achievement through the formal letter. After doing that, we will be done with this particular parameter, which is the first parameter when it comes to letter writing. After that, from tomorrow onwards, we will begin with task response, which is the first parameter for essay writing. And let me tell you one thing, tomorrow's lecture is going to be one of the most important lectures in the entire writing series. So please stay tuned and watch that lecture carefully. Stay tuned. Let's move on to the formal letter. Let me read out the question, then we will understand how we identify a formal letter. You did a bus tour with other people, however, you were not satisfied with the bus service. Write a letter to the bus company about your journey and explain what the problem with your tour was, why you were not satisfied, suggest how the company can improve. So whenever you are writing to somebody you don't know them personally, then it's a formal letter. For example, you are writing to the bus company, you have no idea who the bus company is owned by. So you are just writing to the bus company, you don't know the person you are writing to. Similarly, if you write to any organization or to some airline, in that case also you are writing to some unknown person, you have no idea about, right? For example, you are writing to a restaurant manager, you don't know who he is, but you are writing to him, okay? So in that case, it's a formal letter. Now let's understand what the question is asking us. So you went on a bus tour with other people, however, you were not satisfied with the bus service. So you went on a trip, but the service of the bus wasn't satisfactory. Write a letter to the bus company. Since you were not satisfied, you would obviously complain to the bus company. So this letter is basically a complaint letter. So you will be writing a complaint about your journey, and in that complaint letter you would be explaining these 3 bullet points. What are these 3 bullet points? What the problem with your tour was. So what was the problem? Next, why you were not satisfied. Due to this problem, what happened that you weren't satisfied with the trip. Last, suggest how the bus company can improve. There was a problem, you weren't satisfied, and ultimately you would give suggestions or recommendations for improvement to the bus company so that your future trips are better and they can improve upon their services. Is that clear? So this is what the question is asking you to do. So in your letter you have to incorporate these 3 bullet points which would turn out to be the content of your letter. So each paragraph is denoted to 1 bullet point. This is basically your first paragraph, second paragraph and your third paragraph. So you just have to elaborate each of these bullet points and form paragraphs. And once we do that, we achieve our task achievement, because these 3 bullet points are our tasks and we have to achieve these tasks by answering them properly and elaboratively, and once we do that we achieve our task. Apart from that, we also have to maintain accurate formal tone, since it's a letter which is written to the bus company. The bus company is not your friend, you don't even know who the owner of the bus company or CEO or the manager of the bus company is. So you are writing the letter to complain and you have no idea who you are writing to. It's just a company, so you don't know the person. And secondly, you have to adhere to the word limit, which is 150 words, and also you have to complete the letter in 20 minutes. Okay, so 150 words in 20 minutes, right? And lastly, you have to write the reason of the letter. As soon as you begin writing your letter, you should tell the reason on why you are writing the letter. So these 4 factors we have once again gone through it, and these 4 factors should be taken into consideration while you are addressing your task achievement. Let's move on and answer the particular letter, and by that time, as I always say, take a pause here and attempt this letter on your own. I hope you have completed your letter by now. Let's move on to understanding how we open a formal letter. Dear sir or madam is how you open a formal letter. The opening is not addressed to a person. We don't write the name of the person or the last name of the person because we don't know who we are addressing the letter to. We are basically addressing the letter to an organization or a company instead of a person. So we just write sir or madam. Moving on. Unlike in the case of informal letter in which initially we inquire about the health of the person and the well-being, in this particular letter we straight away start with the topic at hand. We straight away, without wasting any time, tell what the problem at hand is. I am writing this letter to file a complaint regarding the bus trip that my colleagues and I recently took with your professionally recognized company. So, in the very first line of the first paragraph, we have told the reason behind writing the letter. As soon as somebody reads this first line, they would understand that we are writing to complain about the bus service of the professionally recognized bus company. So, it's clear as soon as you open the letter. Coming to the next part, the first bullet point asks us what the problem was and why did we face that problem. So there were several disturbances and problems during the trip which we had to face. What were the problems? You have to mention the problems now. To begin with, the bus was unbelievably hot during the entire journey because of the faulty air conditioner. So what was the very first problem that you faced? It was that the journey was terribly hot, it was really unbelievably hot. So what was the reason behind it? It was the faulty air conditioning. Moreover, the bus driver drove way too rashly, making us uneasy and causing us discomfort. And the second problem that you faced was that the bus driver drove way too rashly. It was rash driving that caused uneasiness and discomfort because you weren't able to enjoy your journey. It was a very unpleasant feeling because of the rash driving that the driver was doing. So basically we have made clear in the very first paragraph the reason behind writing the letter. And in the second paragraph, we have mentioned the problems faced by us. Right? So, we have catered to both of these points, and that is how we have addressed the first part of task achievement partially. Moving on to the next bullet point. Let's address the second bullet point, which asks us how and why we were dissatisfied. So when you're going on a bus trip, what do you usually have in your mind? You're going for a recreational trip, right? You're going to enjoy yourself and relax yourself from your hectic schedule. So similarly, if you go for a trip and you find that the air conditioner is not working and the driver is driving really rashly, you would be disappointed, isn't it? So this is what we are going to mention in this particular paragraph. I was completely astonished that a reputed company like yours performed at such unacceptable standards. My deep disappointment began with the fact that I was not provided with the adequate services in spite of being charged for them. So you gave your bus ticket, right? You paid for it, but you paid for an AC ticket, but you didn't get that air conditioning during your journey. So you were obviously disappointed because the adequate services for which you paid, for which you were being charged, you wouldn't get those. So you were disappointed. Not just this, furthermore, the spirits of the recreational trip were ruined in the beginning itself. So you had a very positive mindset, you were really happy while you're going for the recreational trip in their bus. But what happens? You see that the driver has a very bad driving and the AC is also not working and it's very hot outside as well as inside the bus, so it ruins your mood and it lowers your spirits, so it technically destroys your plan and your trip and dissatisfies you. So this is the reason of your dissatisfaction, and that's the reason we are writing this particular paragraph. I hope I have addressed the bullet point. Kindly go through the paragraph again. Third bullet point asks us to give suggestions to the bus company to improve on their service. So since you have faced two problems, you can give two suggestions. The first problem that you faced was that the air conditioner was not working properly, and the second problem was that the driver was not driving in the appropriate manner. So in this paragraph we will address that particular bullet point. There are two recommendations that your organization should work on to enhance the quality of service and customer satisfaction. So you are giving two recommendations here. These recommendations would enhance the quality of service and customer satisfaction. Okay. What are these two recommendations? First of all, test the air conditioners prior to every trip. Before every trip, the company should check whether the air conditioners of the bus are working properly or not. So before every trip, there should be a pre-test. Second, I request you to hire only trained drivers who drive sensibly and maturely. The drivers who know the traffic rules properly, who maintain the speed limit and who do not honk unnecessarily. So this comes under the drivers who drive sensibly and maturely. So the first one was air conditioner, the second one was trained drivers. Okay, so this is what you want them to improve on. You end the letter by saying that you are looking forward to these improvements immediately. You are requesting them and hoping that they would work on these improvements as soon as possible. Yours faithfully, and then you write your name. This is how you close the letter. Yours faithfully in case of in case of a formal letter. Okay, you would write yours faithfully. Now the contents of the letter should be very clear. Nowhere have I asked for a compensation, since none of the tasks or none of the bullet points are asking me to ask for compensation, right? They just want suggestions from me, and the two suggestions or recommendations that I have given are to see whether the air conditioners are working before the trip, and secondly that only trained professional drivers should be hired. So do not mix and match, you shouldn't put extra things into the letter, just adhere to whatever the bullet point is asking you to do. Now let's take a recap of what task achievement consists of, the 4 factors. By now I hope you remember each one of them by heart, and let's see whether we have sufficed each of those 4 factors in our formal letter. So first of all, we have maintained the tone of the formal letter. Number 2, we have addressed all the 3 bullet points. This is the third bullet point, which is to give suggestions, right? Next is that we adhere to the word limit of 150 words. Okay, so we have catered to all of it. Plus, in the very first paragraph, we've also told you the reason of writing the letter. So, we have completed task achievement by following all the 4 parameters similar to the other 2 types of letters, right? So, it's all done, and even in this letter, we are forming a structure in which we start with dear sir, ma'am. Then we go to the first paragraph after writing the reason of writing the letter. Then we write the second paragraph which has the second bullet point. Then the third paragraph which has the third bullet point. And ultimately we end it or close the letter with yours faithfully. Right? So this is the closing of the letter. So this is how we make a structure without even thinking of making a structure, because we are addressing the 3 bullet points and each bullet point is addressed in one paragraph, one separate paragraph, right? I hope you're clear with what a formal letter looks like. So that's about it for the task achievement enhancer series. I hope you liked it. I hope you understood what the first parameter is all about and what the 4 factors included in the parameter are all about. So hope you score good in this particular parameter, which has a weightage of 25%, and that's not all. We have other series coming up which would help you score better in each of these parameters, and you will astonish your IELTS examiner by scoring good on each of these parameters. Thank you so much.